kind, funny, unconditional love, authentic, compassionate, humble, wise, contribution, a stand for being peace, love, and joy in the world. I'm Stephanie Filardi. Welcome to Mind the Gap, the podcast. I believe many people fall short of living the life of their dreams simply because they get stuck in what I call the gap. The vision behind this podcast is to help you understand how to navigate the gap and in the process, awaken to the life that is waiting for you. It starts now. Let's go. Welcome, friends. Thanks for joining today. I am so excited to be interviewing my business partner, Peter Iacovello, today. I've been waiting for months to do this. He is a very busy, talented man, so it is not easy to get him on this podcast. So before we begin, let us start by taking 3 conscious breaths. You know the drill. Inhale, filling belly, ribs, and chest. Exhale, releasing chest, ribs, belly. Again, inhale, filling belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, let it go. Relax the shoulders, soften the face. And one more time. Inhale, filling up, belly, ribs, and chest. Exhale from the mouth, emptying, releasing, letting it all go. Nice. So, today's conversation with Peter is going to be about prospering partnerships. And before we dive into that, I want to take the time to tell you a little bit more about who Peter is and why I have invited him on the podcast today. So before I read you his bio, which is quite impressive, I want to tell you that Peter is someone who really teaches by being in the world, meaning he shows up as someone who is loving, peaceful, kind, humble, hilarious. So I've often joked with him, why do I have to read all the books and attend all the workshops and trainings to learn these ways of being? And he simply wakes up in the morning. So it's actually quite remarkable to be part of. And one of the reasons why I want to invite you to get to know him better is because I feel like he has a lot to teach. And I think sometimes in his humility, he might not always realize that. So it is for me today to share with you a little bit more about who he is in the world and what he is up to. So let me share with you a little bit of the technical details of his bio. So Peter is a yoga acharya teacher, so that means a spiritual teacher. He's a licensed massage therapist and educator with over 20 years of experience in bodywork and wellness. He is a lifelong student with a passion for functional movement and therapeutic bodywork. He received his 200-hour yoga teacher training at Pranathan Yoga School in 2014 under the guidance of Devarshi Stephen Hartman, Jovina Chan, and Priti Robin Ross, and later an intensive 500-hour Yoga Acharya program in 2018. Acharya means spiritual teacher. Peter blends his extensive knowledge of biomechanics to facilitate physical and energetic healing and balance in the body. Peter's classes and workshops and offerings focus on building strength and mindfulness through functional movement, alignment, and meditative breath work. His intention is to always hold space for all bodies and abilities in a peaceful, heart-opening practice. And yes, he does. He's also the co-founder of Bronxville Wellness Sanctuary, the business here in Bronxville. And he's a faculty member at Zen Spot Institute, teaching anatomy and alignment in the intensive yoga teacher training. So quite impressive, right? All of his doings. And as I said, more impressive to me is how he is in the world. So my intention, as I said, is for you to get to know him, because I really feel like he's a force for positive change in the world. And in last week's episode, I talked about being seen, and I had mentioned that one of the greatest gifts one person could give another is allowing them to be seen fully for who they are. And Peter is absolutely one of those people on this planet who has not only given that gift to me, but has given and continues to give that gift to every single person that crosses his path. And that is the main reason why I want you to get to know him. Because when you feel like you matter in the world, you can make a massive contribution. And every single day over the last 20 years that I have known Peter, he has made that contribution and continues to. So enough about me talking. I want to introduce you now to Peter. Welcome.
Hello there, everyone.
Thanks for joining.
Excited to be here.
Excellent. So I've said a lot about you already. And I just want to invite you, if there's anything right now that I didn't say or that you want to share before we talk about what it means to have prospering partnerships, that you want people to know or that you want to share.
So much to share. However, we'll keep it nice and quick and easy. Basically, my contribution to this business, to this world, and to beings is just being myself, listening to them, being focused on them. It's not me that needs something. It's them that come to me for what they need. And I'm just basically a conduit. I'm a mirror for all those who show up, who are with me, who ask me to help them, to ask me for something that they need. And I always say, this is your session, not mine. What do you need? And I'm here just to take in what it is and allow that process to unfold. I never have a plan when I teach yoga. Most yoga teachers say that they need a plan. For whatever reasons I don't, I show up. Same thing with my massage clients or my private yoga sessions. I just show up, listen, use my intuition. Does it always work? No, not 100%. We can't always be 100% on. But that's basically who I am. Simple-minded, yet very, very, very in touch with what each individual or group needs from me.
So well said. And something that I keep hearing, Peter, as you talk is the word presence. And I do feel like when you say you show up and you don't have a plan, it's probably because you're so in tune and in the present moment that you really are able to connect with people and they feel that. So you probably often don't even have to say a word, and that is felt. Would you agree with that in terms of presence?
100%. Because when you have a clear mind and not saying, oh, to use an example of one of my clients, oh, we did this last week, so we're going to do this week. It's not about that, because last week was last week. Today is today. This moment is this moment. And by myself and this person showing up in this moment to foster some healing, you have to be a conduit. You have to be open. You have to be present, because who knows what they're coming in with. Give an example. I had a client yesterday that had tired legs because he did a leg workout, and my intention is to help him with balance. He's recovering from a stroke. So if you have tired legs and we're trying to recover from a stroke, it makes it challenging. We still got through the session. So you can't always have a plan. You have to be present. So even in everyday life, even if you're not in the massage industry, even if you're not a yoga teacher, you have to be present for people. I often say, have 2 ears in one mouth, not 2 mouths in one ear, which is what a car salesman has, or which is what some real estate agents have. They have 2 mouths in one ear. They show you what they want. I try to just be open, 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 open.
Well said. Thank you for that. And I love how you added in that even outside the massage room, a metaphor for life is to be present and to be in the flow and to recognize that things change constantly, right? That the only thing that's constant is change, right? We've heard that saying. So the ability to be present and to go with the flow and to, at some level, to trust, right? Like you have a high level of knowledge and you're also very intuitive. So those two together are powerful. So you're sourcing not only from the knowledge that you have, that from what you've learned in books, but also from being in tune with what's happening. So thank you for bringing that in because I love that. So now moving on, diving into the meat of this podcast today, prospering partnerships. I'd love for you, Peter, to tell us a little bit about when you hear the word prosperity, prospering in life, what does that mean to you?
Wow, that's a big one. Prosperity, prospering partnerships. To prosper for myself means to be open and to allow and to trust and to be seen and to be heard. And also for the other person who you're in partnership with to be seen and to be heard. A lot of times we create blocks and we have these perceptions of what this is going to be like, where this is going. You just have to stay open. And one of the biggest things for me is to just allow, be present, allow, because prosperity is a huge thing to some, but to me it's small steps, it's baby steps, it's in the grind, it's in the work. To prosper, you have to be in the grind, in the work, and want, and to know, and to allow it to unfold.
Beautiful. So tell me a little bit about, since I know you understand the conversation around being and doing, right? So would you say that prosperity is a way of being in the world that then creates the results?
It's one of the ways, definitely one of the ways. Mm-hmm. It's definitely, and it's probably a big thing for some people, but it's definitely one of the ways.
So when when you feel prosperous or you feel like you're prospering, can you share a little bit with the listeners? What does it feel like in your body? So yes, it takes work and it's the consistency. What does it feel like? Are there feelings or ways of experiencing life that you encounter when you feel prosperous?
For me, when I feel prosperous, excited, they run along the same parallel for me. I feel like being prosperous, I mean, the hairs literally stand on ends. I feel a fuzzy feeling in my body of excitement. I feel like, to use a yogic term, my chakras are aligned. Mm-hmm. And I also feel like my heart, even though it's always open, bursts open even more. So it really feels aligned in my body, mind, and spirit.
Beautiful. It almost feels like there's an effortlessness and a flow to it when we're in the flow of prosperity. It's like we're being in the world and then things are happening as a result of our being.
100%.
Would you agree?
Well, I agree 100%.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because I talk about this a lot, and I talked about it in one of the podcasts about being, doing, and creating, and that so many of us are so focused on what we have to do and the actions we have to take and the results we want that we actually miss out. And that really true prosperity and true abundance and growth and to have a serious impact is really rooted in a way of being. And then that way of being informs our doing. And then in the process, we're creating.
100%. As human beings, we're always creating. We just don't notice it because we're so much in the idea and so much in the blocks of I can't, I don't want to, I need more of this, I need more of that. I'm working with a mentor right now who cleared a path for me that I had a feeling was inside me, but she told me one thing. She says, everything you need and you have is within you. And if it's not, you can always open up a book or you can always embody it yourself. I was on a path because I've always wanted this thing to be a yoga therapist ever since I became a yoga teacher. And she said, Peter, I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of things that you already know that you don't know you even know it.
Mm.
And she says, I have witnessed you. I have seen you teach. I have seen you. You have subbed for me. Her name is Priti Robin Ross. She's my yoga teacher, one of my yoga teachers. And I have to tell you, it just burst me wide open. I'm in the process of maybe creating a school of yoga. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. In the process of working with a student right now, one-on-one, to possibly become a yoga teacher. So there's so much, and this is small. And even though I am present, even though I do understand who I am, I needed this information to come from someone else to understand the gifts I already have to give. So just know that you are enough. You just need to be seen. And sometimes you need to be seen by yourself, or you just need to be seen by someone who really does see you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. What a gift. Yes, what a gift. So it actually is a perfect segue into my next question about partnerships, because it sounds like what you're describing with Priti Robin Ross, and I adore her as well. She's a powerful force in this world. Is what does it mean to have those types of partnerships, and what is it, right? Like, you recognize that you can be something and you can know what your gifts are, but sometimes it takes someone outside of ourselves to look at us and see what we don't yet see, right? So that to me is an example of a partnership. And it's, of course, with someone like a mentor, it's a prospering partnership because they're invested in you being successful, right? So do you want to tell me a little bit more about how do you define a partnership? And just so listeners know, when I say partnership, I'm talking about any relationship, okay? So it's anything from a relationship with your loved ones, to your friends, to your business partners, to the world, because all of us on Team Earth are in relationship, okay? So, Peter, what does it mean? What's a partnership for you?
100%. We're in relationship with the person that's sitting next to us on the commute going into the city. We're in relationship with the car next to us that's driving on our commute. Sometimes I'm not that great at it. My girlfriend will tell you that. But partnership, to break it down very simply, just means to have trust, to have understanding, and to just allow that person's got your back and you have their back. In my relationship, my personal relationship with my wonderful girlfriend, Cynthia, for whatever reasons, we just show up for each other. We allow us to be our best selves without judgment. And it's very successful in that way. When you just allow, you listen, but you just allow. You don't try to fix. You let each other go through. So that has helped me tremendously. In partnership here at the sanctuary with Stephanie, she does her part, I do my part. We have our meetings every so often. We meet in the middle, but we know she's got her end of the business. I've got mine. And sometimes when she's not here, I have to take on her stuff. Sometimes when I'm not here, she has to take on my part of the business. But knowing that in that relationship, whatever that relationship is, you just have to allow and have trust. And if that's not there, there is no partnership. There is no partnership. Knowing, being, and witnessing is huge in partnerships and relationships. Even with my daughter, my granddaughter, there's a partnership and relationship there. There's a trust. Even with my mentor, with my yoga teachers, to grow, you have to allow. You have to be present. You have to trust. when I mean trust, I'm not saying trust the other person so much. You have to more trust yourself, because when you trust yourself, you can trust anything. You can trust the process. I always come back to the I statement. I was taught very young in this process of being human that you have to trust yourself, and you have to always come back to the I, you, me. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. I mean that you, me, I. I always tell everybody I walk around with 3 people, me, myself, and I. It's true though. It's true. And I don't know which one shows up, but they're always there.
Beautiful. So, Peter, you actually answered 2 questions in one, because the way you describe partnership is actually how I define a prospering partnership. When you have each other's back, when you allow them to be who they are, when you're confident enough in yourself to allow them, right? Because sometimes we come from such a place of fear and control and wanting to be right and safe. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, that we can't allow someone to be who they are, because we feel that if they're doing something that, quote, triggers us, that somehow we're losing in some way. So I think, I don't want to get off course here, but I think that all those things are connected. And, what's really remarkable in hearing you speak is that, you do it so naturally. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that are maybe listening to this podcast that are in partnerships and don't feel that they have all those things, right? So maybe the person or the people that they're with, they don't feel supported and they don't feel they have their back. So part of this podcast and the intention behind this podcast is to inspire the listeners to really commit to creating prosperous partnerships. Because I agree with you 1,000%. If there aren't those qualities of acceptance and allowance and support and knowing that you have each other's back, it isn't a partnership and it isn't a win-win. And something that I've learned profoundly over the last several months as I've kind of dived into another level of training and transformational work is that if I win, you win. And if I lose, you lose. And that is a profound realization I have had. And it teaches us to really, as you said before, look outside of ourselves and almost extend our hand and say, how can I serve you? How can I help you? But if we're so lost in our own stuff and we're in survival mode and we're in lack mode, we don't have the energy. We don't have the desire. We don't, quite frankly, have the ability or energy to extend the hand, right? So part of my intention of having you speak today and doing this podcast on this topic is to encourage people to consider that it's possible, no matter where you are right now in your life, personally, professionally, that it's possible to create partnerships in prosperity if you choose to. And if you choose, as you said, Peter, to show up as it. Because as I've said a million times, it starts with us. If I want the number 10 relationship, I got to be the number 10, right? I have to show up willing. And with that comes being vulnerable, stepping outside our comfort zone. Like you say the word allow a lot. Allowing yourself to be seen, allowing others to be who they are without feeling shame or guilty, right? So really powerful. So tell me a little bit about, I'm going to kind of combine 2 questions into one. So understanding what it means to prosper, understanding what a prospering partnership is. What becomes possible in the world when people come together with a shared vision of creating prosperity in all ways? And when I say all ways, I mean health, I mean wealth, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, always. What becomes possible when people operate from that level of being?
The possibilities are limitless because we are in our own way all the time. If we say, I don't have enough money, it could be the job that you're in, but if you shift your thinking within what you earn and shift your thinking within where you live, I can't go to that school. I don't have time. It's all about making the decisions and taking action steps towards that time. I've said in the past, I don't have time. No, it's because I don't make time. I've said in the past, I'm poor. I don't have enough money. My background, I grew up on welfare. I grew up in the Bronx, South Bronx. I would never change that. And I'm not the most successful, powerful person on the planet today, but I feel as if I am, because I today can stand in my own power and am very happy with all the decisions I've made, because they've all taught me lessons, both good and bad. Walking away from toxic situations in my life. 10 years ago, if you saw my mindset, you saw who I was, you wouldn't even, I was a totally different person. Maybe 12 years ago, a little bit. I was 230 pounds. I was just way, way out of balance. And I made a shift. I had to go within. I had to really dig down deep and be in the darkness, because in that darkness, there's a gift. The gift is allowing the light to come in.
Well said. Peter touched on so many things, the mindset and the choice, right? The choice to say, I choose prosperity no matter where I am today, which again, this goes back to everyone listening, no matter where you are, in relationship, in money, which, let's be honest, those are the two biggest areas of life that people struggle with and want to be successful at, is that you get to make the choice today of how you want the rest of your life to go. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's all easy, but I will tell you it's worth it, because the other way isn't sustainable and ultimately isn't easy, because every day is a form of torture, right? So part of the intention about speaking with you this candidly and openly is to help you think about what's possible in your world. What would be possible? What would be different? What would be new and exciting when you start to commit to creating partnerships in prosperity? And start at home. Or maybe even you need to start with yourself. Maybe there are things that you're saying and doing that are in conflict with really how you want to be, right? So it always starts with the relationship that we have with ourselves, and what becomes possible when we come together with a shared vision are things like what Peter and I have created here at the Sanctuary. From the beginning, we knew we wanted to create a sanctuary. That's why we named it Bronxville Wellness Sanctuary and not Bronxville Wellness Spa. Even though, yes, we offer amazing spa services, because we had a vision of bringing more balance and health and peace and joy to the world. So that vision every day guides us no matter what. And we've been through a lot in the 8 years that we've been here. So it's really important to understand the power of your intention, the power of your words, and that you can create. If you can imagine it, you can create it. And if it's in your heart as a dream, it's a possibility, because it wouldn't be there if not, right? So I want to start to wrap up with Peter and, kind of leading up to this big question of, what is your vision for the world? So knowing that you are such a powerful force and successful force, by the way, because you impact so many people who impact so many people, what do you see? What do you see in the world? What is the world that you want to live in, Peter?
I want to live in a world that's free of harm, peace, but it has to start within. The first relationship is with yourself. So with that, I mean, start from within, and that creates your world. Because if you have inner turmoil, you're going to have outer turmoil. If you're going to have inner lack, you're going to have outer lack. If you're going to have inner, I can't, no, this, bad, you're going to have outer, all that stuff. So change your vision from within to create peace, to create harmony, to create homeostasis, which is a big word. It just means balance. Mm-hmm. It's a physiological experience, homeostasis. It's what doctors and medication try to get us back to, all this stuff. That's another topic for another day. But you have to be in harmony with yourself to be able to create prosperity and partnerships and relationships that are prosperous, because it starts at home, people. It starts at home. If you came from a messed up background, your mother was this, your father was that, your uncle was this, your brothers were that, your mother was this, your father was that, your uncle was this, your brothers were that. If you came from a place of abandonment, you can, yes, those are all still there. And I'm not denying those things. And I'm not saying move on, you're a big girl, big boy. What I mean is that you have to reframe your thinking around that. Become partners with your obstacles. Become partners with all that is negative. Because once you create that partnership and that relationship, I promise you, it will shift. It happened for me. It happened for a lot of people that I know. And sometimes just being present with yourself that helps that.
Beautiful. So imagine if more of us were committed to creating that relationship with ourselves and then extending it outward. What kind of world do you think we'd live in? What would it look like at home, at work, on planet Earth? What do you think? What are some of the qualities?
You'd have a lot less turmoil.
Mm-hmm. So more peace, more love,
more peace,
joy.
more love, more joy, more happiness, more openness, more laughter. I laugh every day.
That is true.
And I laugh at myself mostly because I make dumb mistakes and I slap myself on the back of the head and I just keep going sometimes with some of the stupid mistakes or things that I say. So just notice that laughter, loving yourself, is the first partnership in prosperity. And once you have that, everything else is easy.
So for people who are listening and are inspired by your words, what would you suggest they do? I know, read a book, go to a class, seek out a mentor. What do you feel? Is there a combination of things that have worked for you over the years that enabled you to get to where you are?
First thing I started with is finding my breath. Notice that I do have a breath. And then I started seeking. You know, in the age of the internet today, information is at our fingertips. Don't get caught up in the reading, though. Don't get caught up in all the listening. You can listen to 1,000 podcasts. They're all going to have something wonderful to say. You can read 1,000 self-help books. You can listen to people like myself talking here in this podcast. But it starts with yourself and noticing who you are, this physical being, the clothing you wear, the feeling you get when you wake up in the morning. Try to change your mindset. Try. It starts at home. Home meaning you. Go out and seek. Go into nature. Find a yoga class. Find a meditation. If yoga's not your thing, meditation's not your thing, just be who you are. Your true, authentic self. It's there. Clear the clutter. Clear the clutter meaning by be present to what you want. Be present because that want is there. That desire, let it come up. I often say that if you don't honor what you want, it's like that game, and it's hard to explain this game where when we were kids, you had a hammer, you showed up at an arcade, and you hit this head, and it pops up somewhere else. What you resist will persist. And in that persisting is the gift.
Thank you. So I love it. So starting with breathing, becoming present, however that is for you, meditation, which we do talk about a lot. And I say this often, it starts with awareness because many of us don't know what we don't know. So if you're listening to this podcast, clearly you're seeking, and I hope that it's of value to you and that you've been inspired by this conversation today. And I want to leave you with this thought of win-win, because in my experience of life, especially more recently, it's really, as I shared before, hit home, is we're here to win. We're here to win, all of us, not some of us. And one of the best gifts that yoga has taught me is the sense of unity, right? So really recognizing that I am because you are, and that when I win, you win. And when you lose, I lose. So it's a really powerful concept in the living of it. And I think what Peter was saying too about, you can read the books and listen to the podcast and get the coaches and do it if that's what you're called to do. We've done all of it and we'll continue to do all of it. And the magic happens in being it, right? And that's why I wanted you to hear from Peter today, because he is it. And when he says he laughs, he does. I mean, we hear him sometimes at the other end of the sanctuary in the front room laughing with his clients, and we're in the back. And it's great. It's great to hear the laughter. So being it. So take the lesson, take the podcast lesson, take what we've said today and go use it. Go apply it. Go play with it and give yourself permission to fail. Right, Peter? Allow.
Failure is the greatest teacher.
Give yourself permission to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to be uncomfortable, because I promise you, if you really want to create an extraordinary life, you have to step outside your comfort zone and you have to create new ways of being that support the larger context of your life. So that is my offering. That is the invitation today. And think about, what if at home with yourself and with your loved ones, you could think about how you can create win-wins. So the next time a challenge comes up or a conversation comes up, you're able to really speak with the person and say, how can we create a win-win? And then you go to the office or you go to your place of work or wherever you spend your time and you say, how can we create a win-win? So you be the change. You be the catalyst. You be the leader. You be the one who shows up being it, because it is a way of being, my friends, and the doing will follow. Imagine what would be possible in this world and how much more peace and love and joy and prosperity all of us would be able to experience if we came from that idea that we're all a team and that we become high-performing teams at home, at work, and in the world by understanding that we all impact each other, that we all matter, and that we all can win. So that is the offering to you today. Meditate on it, write about it, keep in touch. And Peter, if people want to reach out to you, because I suspect they will, for your wisdom, not only body work, but also your wisdom of heart, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Peter@BronxvilleWellness.com, or simply call the sanctuary at 914-337-9356. I'd be happy to sit down with you and just chat about this experience. And perhaps we can be in a partnership to help further you, who you are as an individual.
I love that. And yes, if you are people in business that are creating prosperous partnerships and prosperous businesses, please consider us a resource. We would be happy to share with you some of the ways of being that we have learned to incorporate over the 8 years here, to be successful and to really create win-wins and teams. So it has been a privilege. It's been a pleasure. And lastly, is there a social media handle that you want to share?
Sure. You can reach me on Instagram at Kamesh, KAMESH .Peter. My last name, IOCOVELLO. Kamesh Peter Acabello.
Sweet. Thank you so much. Any final parting words, wisdom, tips before we say toodles?
Find your breath. Notice who you are. Notice how you feel. And with that, sit with yourself. And whatever comes up is exactly what it's supposed to be.
Thank you so much, Peter.
You're welcome.
Namaste. Have a great day. If you find this podcast helpful, and if it provokes you in any way, meaning you love what I have to say, or maybe you don't like it because it triggers you, awesome. I've moved something in you, and perhaps you will want to share this with someone else in your life who might be interested in being moved. So you can find us on Apple, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. And as always, feel free to share links with people you love, because remember, we are in relationship with each other. So the more that you are present and you invite other people on the journey, the more peaceful world we will live in because we will be together understanding these concepts. So I thank you for your support, and you help us keep the show going by sharing it, by liking it, by giving us reviews, and helping us to grow. Thank you. Toodles.